Have you ever wondered why so much of the pictures we see from the past always seem to have those whited out, almost bleached out skies? And when you do see skies with clouds in them, almost always they're accompanied by these massive airships. And that'll be the topic of this video this week, friends. And apologies, I haven't made a YouTube in a couple weeks. I've had a lot of things. I always thought it funny how the only airship we've really learned about in school was the Hindenburg, and how a disaster with less than 40 lives lost constituted a complete reversal and change in direction of our paths in the skies. I believe there's a lot more to that narrative. Whether or not you want to say the Hindenburg is a false flag, and there's a lot of good indication of such, but I find it very funny how one crash with, aside from that, total amount of lives lost is just around 600 in total with airships, and a vast majority of that, minus the Hindenburg, was airmen in military conflicts. Looking at a lot of these airships and these schematics of these mooring stations, just the impressive detail and advanced technology that went into these stations. It would almost magnetically clamp with the airship. And they tell us that these mooring stations on these skyscrapers we see were nothing more than decoration, including one of my earlier videos showing in the Medina in Chicago having what they say is just nothing more than a decorative mooring station. And apparently they didn't know it was going to be too windy when they went to the extents to build said mooring station. Yet we see time and time again these airships docking in mooring stations all across this realm, and they were really quite amazing. They could be set up and torn down very quickly in, middle of nowhere fields. Would definitely beat all the hassle and the stress that went into the airports that we have today. And I believe that's a lot of reasons why we don't see them and why they were removed. It was a deliberate realignment in our society that seemed to only benefit the wealthy few. The ones in the airline industries that now nickel and dime us. Even the most cheapest flights are in the hundreds of dollars these days. And that's not to mention all the hassle that goes into the airport. Arriving several hours early, waiting in line, delays. There seemed to have been a much better way, a way of luxury. And why would they want to restrict air travel? Make us packed into sardine cans? Well, I'm definitely no flat earther, though I do listen to all theories on the earth, and I know NASA is definitely full of it, but these airships seem to not only travel amongst the skies at an incredibly more efficient and safer rate than the air travel we have nowadays, with probably a fraction of the cost to the consumer, but you had free and unrestricted travel. You could go to Antarctica, see what was actually beyond the ice walls, with little restriction as a fixed-wing aircraft would cause. And I believe that's a big reason why they, whatever's going on in Antarctica, that's the keys to a lot of this. But let's look at the accommodations. And I mean, really, it was just a travel of luxury for all classes, with storage of your vehicles for when you arrive on the trip. I mean, this was an outside lounge. And they say it was so windy and yada yada, but here they are outside, floating around. And take a look at this map. This was on the Hindenburg, by the way. Very interesting there. Perhaps this was a map after the last mudflood, after the last reset. And I mean, it's just, what a way to travel. Decent accommodations for all classes, beautiful promenades with, I'd imagine, just impressive views. That's just it. You got a little tiny window you can look out now while you're flying. Imagine what you could see in the skies, and perhaps that's another reason why we're not allowed to fly these anymore. And it's funny, less than 600 lives lost, 40 of those being with the Hindenburg. That's like a slow year for the airline industry today. And just look at like all the accommodations, and these had a kitchen on board, plenty of lounges. And you've seen it was, they said the Hindenburg would be a 2-day travel, less than 2 days across the Atlantic. That's nothing. I would definitely rather deal with that than the stresses of the airport and the cramped quarters of an Atlantic flight. While enjoying some meals and some views and scenery, this was how travel and vacationing was done. Just look at the technology on these. They seem way beyond their time. A subscriber told me about the aluminum that went into them long before aluminum was even mainstream or well available. But yet, here they are, just massive ships, constructed in large part with the aluminum frame. I mean, come on. You look at these pictures of these cabins and the accommodations they have, and you're going to tell me you would prefer the hassle of the airline industry over this? They could easily fit at least 100 people. Bars, cabins, storage. Seemed like the heck of a way to travel. As impressive as the civilian application of these airships were, their application in wartime use gave them a deadly reputation with the British, who feared the German airships. They could roll into a city in the dead of night with near silence compared to modern day bombers, even, with the exception of maybe the stealth craft. But they could roll in dead of night. You could never hear them coming. And not only could they rain bombs from below, but they were equipped with a fleet, a squadron, if you would, of aircraft. And you just could imagine, from an operational standpoint, they're just floating aircraft carriers, essentially. And what a scary sight to see, especially how massive these were. But to see a squadron of fighters being released from their underbelly, or dropping illuminating lights, spies, etc., like, the practical uses of these. And they said they had advanced technology, a lot of them with radar, even before they say radar was a thing. These were definitely no pushovers. And they were far from dangerous. They could take a beating without getting shot down. They were made that way. Contrary to what you see, the whole of the airship is far from what actually is. You have the bladder, which actually holds the gases that make it lift. And a big dispute with like the Hindenburg and stuff is what gases they use to fill it with. And another point to make of the Hindenburg's flaggery, but these aircraft could be launched from the airships and docked back with the airships after their sorties were completed. They're simply amazing crafts. Beautiful and practical in civilian use, absolutely deadly and versatile in military use. And what really amazed me when I was doing these videos is just the hundreds of pictures that I've compiled. And just recently too, like more and more. I watched a whole 1.5 hour long documentary. I'll link it in the description in the video. Well worth watching, an 1.5 hour documentary from the BBC of a person's travel and experience in one of these airships. They were marvelous. And just looking at the infrastructure that all sides went into making these, for them to just whiff them away. The story of the mainstream, and again, it's a time and time again occurrence that very little of what they tell us in the history we've been taught is accurate. Even by their own definitions, they dispute over this and that, but they tell us with certainty that we're the most advanced civilization, that we're at the peak of technology and medicine and science, and the medicine, the petroleum pills they give us that lead to addictions that treat the symptoms, not the actual ailment themselves. While the rich get richer, it seems like we get poorer and poorer. I don't know about you guys where you live, but costs just seem to keep going up and up, and costs to heat your home this winter, that's going to be the real scary part of what's to come in this inflation of ours. And it's strange too how it all seems to be worldwide. But you see from these images of the past, with these airships, and it's part of the reason why I did this video, just to show you a different side of history, a compilation that we've never seen in our history books. The Tartarianempire, the mudflood. There's so much more to uncover in this realm of ours. And with that said, I believe that's a good point to end it for this week. Next video I will be touching on Turkmenistan, perhaps the last vestige of a fallen empire. Also, little side note behind the scenes, I may be starting and launching a podcast soon with a fellow truth seeker. More details to come on that soon. And if you want to support this channel, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Click on my links to find my other medias, my other works. Also, if you want to contribute, my content will always be free, but you can buy me a coffee, as it were. Follower told me to subscribe and set up on that, and You can find the link to that in the description as well. But also I'm starting a book here, compiling images and writing my own thoughts and some theories shared by myself and some other truth seekers, and hoping to have a nice handle on that coming out soon. But be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I appreciate all your guys' support. It means the world to me. Until next time, question everything, friends.